Have you ever really tried to map out how reality works? Like, how does a simple thought turn into something real, something you can touch? Well, today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating handwritten model that lays out a three-tiered structure for existence itself. So let's just get right into it. So the whole thing kicks off with this really powerful, almost poetic philosophy: spirit first, mind after, body later. And get this, the note even emphasizes in that order. So this isn't just some catchy phrase, right? This is the core operating principle, the absolute foundation of the entire model we're about to break down. And here it is. This is our source material. It's just a single handwritten page, and it's dated March 8th, 2026. Now, at first glance, it looks pretty simple, right? But trust me, it is packed with all these cool analogies and a really clear top-down logic. So our job today? We're going to unpack every single layer of this thing together. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the core philosophy. Then we'll break down each of the three main parts: spirit, mind, and body. And finally, we're going to tie it all together to see the whole journey, from cause all the way to effect. All right, first step, the core philosophy. According to this model, the absolute starting point of everything is what the author calls spirit. Think of this as the foundational layer, the ultimate source where everything else even begins to emerge from. So this note defines spirit as pure awareness, and it's labeled right there on the page as the ultimate cause. Now, just to be clear, we're not talking about a spirit in like a ghostly sense. It's more like the formless, unshaped potential that exists before any thought or action even happens. It's the true origin point. Now, to make this pretty abstract idea a bit more concrete, the author uses a really cool analogy from, basic physics. Spirit is described as being like a gas. Think about it. It's everywhere, it has no fixed shape, and it just expands to fill every available space. It's pure, untapped potential. Okay, now this is where it gets really, really interesting. The model breaks down this spirit layer even further. So spirit, or consciousness, is compared to this vast ocean, the total sum of everything. Then a piece of that, the soul or the subconscious, is like taking a drop of that pure ocean water and tinting it. It gives it a unique character, a specific flavor, but it's still fundamentally part of that same whole ocean. Okay, so that brings us to our second layer, the mind. If spirit is that big, formless cause we just talked about, then the mind is the crucial bridge that starts to give it some actual shape. The mind is labeled here as the realm of thought. So this is where that formless, pure awareness from the spirit level gets filtered, processed, and organized. It's the essential go-between, sitting right between the totally abstract and the totally concrete. And remember that physics analogy? Well, it continues right here. If spirit was a gas, then the mind is a liquid. See, it's not completely formless anymore. It takes the shape of its container, it can flow, it has patterns. It's definitely more defined, but it's still not solid, not yet. So check this out. The note uses the analogy of a wavelength for the conscious mind. It's like the patterns of thought moving through that big ocean of awareness we mentioned. And then below that, you have the ego self or mask, which is linked to emotion. This kind of suggests that it's the specific emotional character or the feeling that a particular thought wave is carrying. And all of that brings us to the final and definitely the most tangible layer of the model, the body. This is it. This is where the whole process wraps up and becomes the reality that we actually experience. The body is the physical world. It's the realm of action and the ultimate reflection of that entire chain reaction that started way back with spirit. It's where the unseen finally becomes seen, where all that potential becomes something actual and real. And you guessed it, our physics analogy concludes right here. We went from gas to liquid, and now we finally arrive at solid. This represents the dense, tangible, structured physical reality that we can all touch and interact with. It is the final end product. So if the mind was the wavelength, then the body is the wave crest. The very peak of the wave, the most visible part of all that energy. And what is that peak? It's action. That final, concrete result you actually see in the world. Well, that's what this note calls reality. All right, let's put this all together. We've looked at the three layers: spirit, mind, and body. Now let's connect them and really see that complete journey from the initial cause all the way to the final effect.
Okay, this slide just brilliantly sums up the entire cascade. Just look at the flow here. We start with a formless cause, that's spirit, which is like a gas-like ocean. Then that condenses into thought in our mind, which is like a liquid. And finally, that crystallizes into the effect, the solid, tangible action of the body. Gas, liquid, solid. It's so clear.
So look, if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this simple three-step process. Every single effect we see around us begins as a cause in the realm of spirit. It then gets shaped by our thoughts, and it finally manifests as action. It just reinforces that core principle we started with: spirit first, mind after, body later.
And if we go back and look at our original source document now, you can totally see the entire journey laid out plain as day. You've got the ocean of pure awareness at the top, it flows down through the wave of thought, and it crests into that solid line of physical reality at the bottom. It's literally a complete map, from the most abstract cause you can imagine to the most tangible effect.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about, doesn't it? If this model holds any water and our actions, our reality, are the final effect, then it kind of forces us to look all the way back to the beginning of that chain. So, what cause, what quality of pure awareness are you choosing to filter through your mind today?